On today's starting nine, Jake and Carl get into the Braves' historic and unbelievable run. There's some major home runs from some young dudes. Bench is clear in Baltimore. A huge start from a young guy on the West Coast and a bunch of other shit. Let's get into it. It's a great day for starting nine. Action, and welcome back to starting nine. Carl here in Chicago. I got my host, Jake, in Texas. It's good to see you.
Yes, sir. Yeah, you too. And every day that passes in September, it just gets more and more exciting. And things continue to change in the game. Keeps giving us some pretty interesting things to talk about, and just to kind of continue to reiterate things we've been talking about. Very exciting, and we're going to talk about some of the fantasy football with that fantasy football league that Portnoy's a part of for the first time this year. Should be a good show, buddy.
Yeah, and we're going to be joined by Sonny Gray. I forgot to mention that in the introduction, but we're not cutting it again. Sonny Gray is, to me, a guy that I've been reading about and hearing about for a long time. Oh, yeah, since he was a freshman at Vanderbilt. And he was a freshman when I was a junior in college, in the name of, like, if you heard about this bulldog down in Vanderbilt. So he's going to join the show, and what a cool dude. Every time we talk to a starting pitcher, I walk away with, like, a new appreciation for just, like, how well-rounded these guys are.
Yeah, and he was drafted, I believe it was 2011, so I was the 07 class. So 2011, I was in my second year in the big leagues in Baltimore, and was hearing a lot about him. You always hear of at least one or two guys from Vandy. You know, whether it's a superstar shortstop or it's like a starter like David Price, whoever it is. They always have, I'd say, at least one or two guys that are going to be top of the first round talents, and they just continue to, churn out elite players. Tim Corbin does a phenomenal job there. I got to play for him briefly on the national team in 2006. So very well coached, and it's no surprise they just keep doing what they're doing. And you got to be pretty damn smart to go to Vanderbilt, don't you? You can't be any dummy off the streets. Like you got to have your shit together, at least for the most part. I mean, athletes, you can kind of work around some things. But it doesn't seem like the easiest academic school to go to.
Hey, I guess in the same vein, the Brave season wasn't going along as well as people thought it would. Now look at them. June 1st, June 1st.
Yeah, right. So when did we start talking about the Braves as, a team that you can't count out because of what they've done historically in the past and just kind of their pedigree? It's like a team like the Dodgers or the Cardinals. You just expect great things from them. And you never expect them to quit or to give up. And, they erased a 10.5 game deficit and have a share of first place in the East for the first time all year. With no surprise. And the way that they did it, obviously the Mets lost to the Pirates last night, and they Braves beat Oakland in, I believe it was Kyle Wright's worst start of the season, and he's absolutely nasty, by the way. I mean, I've seen him pitch, obviously, a lot, but even in a game where he gave up, 5 or 6 runs, whatever it was, I mean, he's got a filthy split change sort of deal. He's got a great delivery. He's got power stuff. He's having a hell of a year, too. And for the Braves to do what they did, Vaughn Grissom with a 4-hit night, Olsen with a big 3-run homer. I mean, Jesse Chavez is still pitching. I mean, he's like 50. It's just amazing that he's still pitching. We played together in the fall league in 2007. I believe at the time he had some big league time. That was my first taste of pro ball. I didn't play in 2007. I signed late, so they sent me to the fall league. And that's where I met Jesse for the first time. And this guy's been a journeyman, like been pitching forever. But yeah, just the Braves, no surprise. I mean, credit to them for being able to fight back, especially against a team at the top of the division like the Mets, who have played so well.
Yeah, when we had Dansby Swanson on, I remember being like, what really has been the kick? Because I think we interviewed him before the All-Star break and then aired it after. There was some kind of timing thing where it was like early mid-June or July. And it was like, so what exactly has it been if you guys just kind of looked around and, were like, wait, let's get the momentum back we had at the end of the season? He's like, no, dude, we brought up Michael Harris. But remember that? He was just quick to be like, as soon as we brought up Michael Harris, we became a completely different team.
And you're right. He said as soon as they brought him up, things kind of changed, turned around a little bit, and we had mentioned before on the show, I talked to guys and asking about Harris, and they're saying he could potentially be better than Acuna, and he's the best defensive center fielder they've seen all season. So very high praise, and he's obviously had a lot to do with the way that they've been able to turn things around.
So I'm trying to figure out exactly who gets hurt more between the two by the wild card. Like my brain, I can't wrap around if assuming the Dodgers are going to be in the NLCS, I can't imagine someone rolls. Like the Dodgers are, to me, absolutely going to make it to the Final Four. So the Braves to me have a deeper pitching staff from 1-1 where you can go, and Soroka's coming back. You talk about Kyler Wright's got the deepest mix of stuff where he can move stuff around the strike zone. Then you've got Spencer Strider throwing 100, and you've got Charlie Morton, meaning you've got more interchangeable parts where the Mets, between their three starters, you're starting to see it's Scherzer, it's DeGrom, it's Bassett.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, I'm looking at this, I'm thinking the Mets are the team. They stand aloof. To me, it's like if the Mets go to the wild card, that's a bigger disadvantage to the Mets because the Braves, I think, can roll through a 3-game series and then show up to a 5-game series with enough depth in the pitching staff. And I don't know if the Mets are at a point where now the fan base is saying we're going to need DeGrom and Scherzer on the mound to win these big games.
When is Soroka supposed to come back?
Pretty soon with Albies.
So is he currently on a rehab stint?
Yeah, I'm going to pull that up.
Okay.
What do you know about him?
Just one of the filthiest sinkers in all of baseball, and really good breaking stuff too. So, but I don't know if you can count on him to be at the level you would expect him to be if he had a full season or if he was at least healthy for a month or so coming back to the team. That's not to say that he can't hit the ground running and be ready to perform like a postseason type of front-end starter. I just wouldn't have my expectations that high. But again, that's not to say that he can't pitch extremely well. But I do agree with you with the depth of the Braves rotation. It's a predicament for the Mets or anybody. So, but when you have DeGrom and Scherzer, I mean Bassett, I like Bassett also. If those guys dominate, but then you still have to score against the Braves top 3 or top 2 also. I mean, it's a very tough series nonetheless. I like the Braves lineup a little bit better. I mean, I think they have the edge there in the depth of the starting rotation. I mean, it's a scary team.
Yeah, I got Soroka. He's been out two years now. He hasn't thrown a pitch since August 2020, but it's an Achilles injury. And you just see the way guys come back from injury now. If he's out there, they optioned him to AAA. He's working through some rehab starts. I mean, it's not against reason to think that he could come in like mid-late September and show a plus sinker where the Braves are like, all right, perfect, we can use him 2-3 innings. And you know that the mentality that guy's going to have when he comes out in October, I don't think it's going to be overwhelming for a guy like Soroka. Like, to your point, you shouldn't be banking on it. But to the fact that Braves can, let this guy out of his cage at the most important time of the year is pretty significant.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt him, and I don't think really anybody does. But with the Achilles injury, and that was so he had 2 injuries, correct? It was an Achilles, and then didn't he had an arm injury like after that, I believe. I mean, I could be completely wrong. I think that it was more than just
a
that.
Double Achilles
But
tear.
with the Achilles, so Zach Britton. So he re-injured it. When Zach Britton came back from his Achilles injury a couple years ago, he had a really difficult time maintaining the same delivery that he had pre-Achilles injury. And that's a really strange injury that can take obviously a really long time to get better from. And since he re-aggravated it, maybe mentally there's a little bit something in the back of his mind, because there always is when you have a serious injury. Am I going to re-injure it on this pitch? Or if I exert 100% effort? Am I gonna feel it again? So it might take him some time to kind of get that mental block out of his head, because it did the same thing for me from time to time. Like when I had my meniscus done, if I take a hard burst covering first base, am I going to re-injure it, or whatever the case is? So that's something that exists in all athletes, regardless of your sport. So I would like to see video of him. I would like to see if he looks the same as he did before surgery, because that's a tough one, man. And I don't remember if it's his land leg or his push off leg, but either way, that Achilles, man, that's really tough. I would say that one absorbs a little bit more force than your land leg. I mean, I'm not a biomechanical expert, but just kind of judging on how the delivery works, I think that's fair.
We go in the Mets clubhouse for a second. They're the first team in MLB history to have 3 straight games where they lose by 6 or more runs to a team with 30 or more fewer wins than them, which is kind of an obscure stat. So you really have to – it's basically a second half stat. But 3 in a row when they can't have it. So I guess I have a fan perspective, but I'm interested in your player perspective because you lose 3 games in a row. Everyone outside the Mets is saying these are like, must-win games because the Braves don't lose, and there's all this external noise around the Mets. Inside the clubhouse, you've got, fucking badasses from Max Scherzer to homegrown dudes that have been around the whole thing like DeGrom. You've got the upstart Alonso, the grinder McNeil. You have this unbelievable mix, and do these 3 games, are they like, is anybody even thinking about talking right now? Like, hey, we should talk as a team?
Probably not yet, but those are 3 games, and it was the Nationals, correct? September 3rd, September 4th. They dropped those 2 to the Nats, and then last night they dropped the game 8-2 to the Pirates. And I tell these stories all the time, like teams that I've been on that missed the postseason. You can look at 1 or 2 series at some point in the year that cost you getting in. And it was my experience with teams, like the Marlins when I was in Philly, a team that you have to go in there and you have to win 3 or 4, you have to win 2 out of 3 at least. You got to win the series. There were times where we got swept. One time we got swept at home. Another time we lost 2 or 3 on the road, or whatever the case is. If they happen to not win the division, I mean, those are definitely 3 games. Hopefully they stop it tonight, but those are 3 games they're going to look at and say, we just could not afford to lose those games. We just couldn't.
What about Mets fans that are like, oh, we're not playing hard, or they're losing focus? Like, could you talk a little bit about like what Mets fans like? Are they justified to be mad right now after 3 games, or how should Mets fans be interpreting this, you think?
I would be upset as a fan. I would be upset that that we lost those games. I mean, how can you quantify guys not playing hard? Like you have no idea that the guys aren't playing hard unless they're, loafing down to first base, or they're lazy. They're not, hitting cutoff man, or they're not going first to third on a ball, like, in a shallow gap. Like I didn't see much of those games, but come on, guys, they were in first place at the time. Now they're tied for first place. These guys are coming out every single day, playing as hard as they can, preparing, trying to win games. They're trying to get your team to the postseason, and they're trying to win a World Series. So yeah, these guys definitely are playing hard. You can play hard and still make mistakes. You can play hard and still lose, and you can still lose to teams you should beat. So, although these are games that you would expect them to win, baseball is one of those sports where the starter for the Nationals can come out and just be dialed in and put up 7 shut, or go 7 and give up 1 run, and they could do it back-to-back nights, which doesn't happen often, but it's possible. And you're getting these guys best shot because a lot of them are playing for a spot on the team next year with both of these organizations, with Washington, with Pittsburgh. So don't be surprised to get these teams' best shot against your guys, because that's they're trying to establish their career, and they're trying to do it against a team who's in position to potentially win a World Series. So regardless of who you're playing, even though they have 30 plus wins less than the Mets, you're still going to get their best effort. And, they're getting paid a lot of money too. They're in the big leagues.
I love that point. I have a take, but first I want to say a shout out, thank you to our good friends at Doer Jeans. It's time to simplify your wardrobe and the way you dress with Doer. They set out to create versatile, staple items that can travel from a hike to work and even out to dinner. Less in the closet means less in the landfill, and less time debating what to wear means more time enjoying those adventures. We talk about performance gear a lot on this show. I will say I recently started taking my Doer shorts out to the golf course because the fabric, it has a really nice athletic feel. I get annoyed with some golf shorts because they're either too short or too baggy, or the fabric's so freaking thin it feels like I'm not even wearing anything. So I take the Doers out and it just feels so good having the ball marker in the left pocket, the divot repair on the right. I feel like an athlete. My legs look, and I've got nice legs. I will say that I've got a lot of pride in my lower half, and they wick moisture. So discover the lightweight luxury of Performance Naturals. Whether you are a corporate climber or a mountain climber, or in my case, taking your busted-ass golf game out to the public course, take 15% off online at shopdoer.com or in-store using code STARTING. That's 15% online at shopdoer.com or in-store using code STARTING. Last personal endorsement on this stuff. I struggle with getting a good fit for the lower half, like I said, because it's so explosive. If you're one of those guys out there, it's like, man, jeans just don't fit me right. You go out, you see guys who look good in jeans, you're like, man, I wish I looked like that in my pants. Go check out Doer. Okay, I have a take. You brought this up. You're like, yo, big leagues, it doesn't matter. They're going out competing. You can run into a guy who's throwing 7 shutty. And it's so funny, Patrick Corbin, who is just – won a World Series with the Nets, got a huge contract, had a really, really great start first half of his career since he signed the big deal. A little bit, objectively not pitched as well as I'm sure the Nats and Patrick Corbin would have hoped. And Saturday when he went out and pitched against Max Scherzer, that could be a game Mets fans have circled for years to come where it's dude, that was the game. I hope this isn't the case. But, man, that'd be some shit if you had to circle, where did they fall apart this year? And you're like, Patrick Corbin went out and beat Max Scherzer on a Saturday night at Citi Field.
Which can happen, too,
yeah.
Right? Look what Patrick Corbin has done in his career. He's a really nice left-handed arm. This year has been, he wouldn't sugarcoat it. He's had a really bad year. I mean, his whip is a 1.7. He's only given it in 27 starts. He's only given his team, 134 innings is pretty low. But he goes out there and throws seven strong. Let's see. I'm just looking at his walk totals. So I mean, I guess you'd say they're fairly high, but he's just getting hit around. He's getting hit around a lot. He had a start where he went 0.2 and gave up 6 runs and 5 hits. He's given up more hits than innings pitched in almost every one of his starts. And historically, that is out of character for Patrick Corbin. But at any point in time, he can figure things out. Maybe, I don't know what's going on with him. I mean, there's things I'm sure that are mentally restricting him. When you have these high expectations and you sign this sort of deal, you see what people are saying about you. And it can affect your performance. And, hopefully he can kind of turn things around, man, because nobody wants to see a guy like that struggle. He's a good dude, and he wants to perform for his contract. And like I said, it's no surprise he went out there and did what he did, even against the Mets.
So there's our Mets Braves talk. We buried that on our last show, which is probably unfair. But I bring this up because I do have this segment here where people think we're like a Mets podcast now because our producer is a diehard Mets fan and had a title out the other day.
And we're not. We're not. And we fuck with Colin a lot. So, I mean, we talk about the Mets, but when you're a team that's been in first place all year, you get talked about quite a bit. I think that's fair.
Here's some of the feedback from our last episode, though. Nice listening to these soy slurping Mets clowns snivel about a funny as hell troll. What's Bush League is your show. You guys are just butthurt. The Braves continue to be Mets' worst nightmare, and the Mets deserve everything they have coming when it comes to be mocked. You're not mad the Braves played this song. You're really mad the Mets pulled the Mets, and it's William Contreras' song. Don't disrespect the season William Contreras is having. Like, we're not out here disrespecting William Contreras. I'm not asking Wilson to come.
Not at all. No, and he, he re-aggravate sprained ankle. Mm-hmm. I saw him when he hit a homer and he was trotting around the bases a little gingerly. They had to put him on the IL.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate. Because, I mean, he's got to be hurt to keep that guy off the field. Like, really hurt.
Even at this point in the season?
Yeah. I mean, he wants to put that uniform on. He wants to be behind the dish every single game. That's just who he is.
I don't think people realize that that's actually like an existing mentality across MLB. I think a lot of people would say most, if not all, players would be like, whatever, I'm getting paid a lot. Ugh.
Well, he's playing for more than just the season, too. Like, he's, he wants, and he wants to contribute, and he knows he's, one of the leaders on the team, if not the guy. And he wants to show that. He wants to show that to the fans. He wants to show that to baseball. And I think he's always trying to prove something, which is good. Like, to have a little chip on your shoulder. And pretty much every professional athlete does for some reason or another. Whether it was someone told you couldn't do it, you can't get to the big leagues, or coach told you weren't good enough, or whatever. So, but yeah, his heart is never in question. I hate to see when guys go on the DL ever. Especially a guy like him who wants to play as much as he does.
Speaking of DL, your boy Riz.
Yeah. So, and I expected it to be, more issues with his back. He's had some issues with that in the past, but I saw it's due to migraines, and that's kind of a scary deal.
Is that the first time for him?
I don't believe he's ever had issues with migraines. I don't think I've ever had a migraine in my life. I don't know what it's like. I've had, a minor headaches from having a few too many the night before, but I don't know what that's like. I can only imagine it's excruciating, and I can't believe that you could play baseball when you have a headache like that. I don't know what. I'm not a doctor. I don't know what would lead to reoccurring headaches. I wouldn't assume that it's part of your diet, or maybe it's not enough sleep, or
stress.
Too much, like maybe some stress, or maybe he's not wearing sunglasses outside when it's like crazy sunny. I don't know. Does that even make sense? Like that could do something there.
Hydration.
A
big one.
Okay. Yeah.
I think with Riz, though, too, I mean, I have, like, my natural knee-jerk reaction is, like, oh, shit. Like, I hope this isn't – he's already had just, like, such a fucking horrible experience with, with cancer. You see something like migraines pop up, and it's like, oh, God, I hope this is just like, let it just be, like Colin saying, just a simple hydration thing, and not like an early symptom to some bigger thing.
Yeah, I mean, God, I would hope not. So I guess that he's in New York, or maybe he stayed back when the team traveled to be evaluated by doctors further. Yeah, so just hope he's okay, and hope they can figure that out and get him back on the field as soon as possible.
Speaking of getting back on the field, like, this is a horrible transition. A lot of players went onto the field last night. The benches cleared in Baltimore. This actually turned out to be way better and deeper than I understood it to be. So Brian Baker is a pitcher for the Orioles. He records an out last night against the Toronto Blue Jays to end the inning. He's a reliever for the Orioles. He spent 4 years with the Blue Jays organization. Now he's pitching against them. This is the Orioles are in fourth place in the wild card, chasing the Blue Jays. Some would call that like a must-win game last night. Great series going back and forth. And he gets the last out, and he's coming off the field, and he just starts chirping the Blue Jays dugout. He's talking shit about him, and there was a quote afterward from the Blue Jays dugout, because they're like, hey, we know this guy. He was actually up in the big leagues with us last year. The only thing that guy ever did for us was win the fucking March Madness pool. And now he's out here running his mouth in like a must-win September game. That's got to be inflammatory if you're in the Blue Jays dugout to see that guy chirping you.
I don't like it for a few reasons. I don't like when a guy chirps like that and then just kind of disappears into the darkness. I mean, if you're gonna do that, then like get out there and say some shit. Like when the guys come out and they're pissed, he just walks back to the dugout. Whatever, man. Like if you're gonna talk shit, you need to be ready to be a part of a confrontation. I'm not saying like you got to fight anybody, but like you want to talk shit and then just disappear. Not a huge fan of that. I like the back and forth, but there were some of the Blue Jays guys trying to get after him, and he didn't want any part of it.
Yeah, I think there's something about like nobody. I don't know if you could say like anybody in that Blue Jays dugout, like player wise, is responsible for whether or not his time in Toronto panned out. Like if he wants to chirp the front office or if he wants to chirp, the pitching coach or the manager or something, like what the fuck does Vlad Guerrero Jr. have to do with you not having success?
Nothing. Yeah, did he pitch like shit while he was there, I assume? Probably.
He was
you don't even
late call up in
to
2021, but
okay. So, yeah, your services were no longer necessary for the Blue Jays, but now you're throwing 99-mile-an-hour cheese at the top of the zone for another team. Like, fucking move on, man. Just move on. Just take care of your business, and why try and fire them up any more than necessary? Just enjoy the win. A nice punch out of Chapman. Beautifully executed heater at the top of the zone. I loved every bit of that. And I kind of liked it when he started talking shit, but then he just kind of moseyed on back to the dugout.
not a good look for the number 43 jersey.
No, not really.
But Jesse Chavez is a good look for the 43. You brought that up at the top of the show. Just great wet hair from the 43.
Yeah, and the specs, the clear Oakleys. God damn, he's been pitching forever. I mean, I think he even played with Jackie Robinson back in the day. He's been playing forever. So yeah, weird situation. But the O's they need to keep winning. So they're 3.5 games back. I mean, they're right there. Regardless of what happens with the Orioles this season, the organization and the fans should be extremely optimistic and very excited for the coming years, even if they happen to not make the playoffs. Just basically what they've done this second half. And the players that they brought up, they have some really promising arms. Brandon Hyde has done a really good job there. So a lot of reasons to be excited for the Orioles. No doubt about it.
Yeah, looking at the Orioles, they've got long-term solutions at third base and Gunnar Henderson, shortstop with Mateo, first base with Mountcastle, left field with Austin Hayes, catcher with Adley Rutschman, center field with Cedric Mullins. Him and Mateo are the only guys I think in MLB with over 30 stolen bases. And they play to me, it's just like a slightly different type of baseball than what you see from like a true outcome, or the 3 true outcome. Like, it's just a team of grinders, guys that hit the cutoff. Like, you were talking earlier, like, how can you judge whether or not a team's playing hard unless they're lollygagging around? Like, the Orioles are kind of on the opposite spectrum where if you go and watch them play, like, I went and watched them play when they came to Chicago, and just the amount of, like, hustle and effort, it reminded me of like a college team with a lot of pep. You go on the road, you're playing like a good college program on like a Saturday or Sunday morning, and those guys come out and they're like popping around the field, and you're like, fuck, man, these guys.
If there's any lack of effort there, it's going to be immediately noticed by the other players, by the coaching staff, and that's going to be addressed. But I haven't seen any signs of that, and I would not expect that. From really anybody at this level. That's not to say it doesn't happen from time to time. You know, we've seen instances in the past where there's altercations with amongst teammates in the dugout because of a guy not hustling for a ball in the outfield or running the bases hard. That happens, but it's typically policed within amongst the players, or they're pulled into the office and they're pulled out of the game. So unless something like that has happened, I would not think that anybody is lollygagging or not playing with the effort expected at this level, especially this time of year.
As I said, I went and saw the Orioles play, and to do that, I used Game Time, the exclusive ticketing partner of Barstool Sports, the ticketing app that makes it easier than ever to score last-minute deals on tickets to sports, concerts, and shows, and they guarantee the lowest price. I've been talking about that Lumineers concert on the show for like a month. We went on Saturday. We used Game Time. It was incredible. I've talked about, like, I sat so close I thought they were going to have me come in and play the drums. Unbelievable experience. Game Time made it happen. You guys download the Game Time app, go to the account tab to create a login, redeem code STARTING9 for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. That's code STARTING9 for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time, last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. That's as much of a personal endorsement organic ad read as we can put together. So, well, let me just say that we're going to get to the Sonny Gray interview right now, and on the subject of just like picking up and all this stuff. This interview to me is really cool because I think we're starting to like figure out a good pace and rhythm of like what you should be asking, what I should be asking, like what they're interested in talking about. Because Sonny Gray, like I just love how quickly we got into like the tree building and his own personal sense, and like you guys, how similar you guys would be on road trips, and like his willingness to talk about high school theater and all this goofy shit.
Yeah, and he's a wanderer, and it's funny. Because we kind of started to get into that kind of stuff with the Dylan Cease interview, and I'm just a big fan of getting to know guys personally and what their interests are and what gets them excited away from the game, just to kind of get some of their background and see kind of what makes them tick. And yeah, me and him would have gotten along really well as teammates. We would have gotten up early. We'd have start, grab a coffee, maybe get on a bird or electric skateboard and just cruise the city for 3-4 hours and enjoy the day before we go to the yard and dial in for a win. So yeah, he's an interesting guy. Obviously, he's a very talented starting pitcher, but it's cool to see some of the things he likes to do away from the game.
Amen. So let's get to Sonny Gray. We did this because Twins fans have been clamoring for more Twins talk. I can't think of a better way to get inside the Minnesota Twins clubhouse than talking to one of their top starting pitchers, one of the most like established veterans on that roster, in the midst of chasing a playoff spot, which we talk extensively about. So let's get to Sonny Gray. We're in the interview portion of today's show. We are joined by Minnesota Twins starting pitcher Sonny Gray. Sonny, thanks for joining us today. Where are you at now? What's going on in life? How are the Twins treating you?
All good here. We are we're actually in New York playing the Yankees. We got one of those days where it just looks like it started raining about 10 o'clock last night, and I think it's going to rain all day. So one of them days where you just kind of hang out and sit and wait, hurry up and wait. So all good here. We're doing good. We got a month left of this thing, and we're gonna have to finish strong. As I always say, like you're not gonna lose your way into winning a division. So we got to win some games and win our way into it. So it'll be a fun month, that's for damn sure. With us, the Indians, and the White Sox all kind of like stacked on top of each other. Like I said, I think whoever wins plays their way into the playoff spot, wins the division. We'll see what happens when you get there.
Yeah, it seems like you guys are going to have to win the division because where the wild card standings are at. Not that it's impossible, but you're in a position where you don't want to hope for somebody else to lose, right? Like you said, you got to win your way into it. And 162 games, and we talk about it all the time, and it seems like every year there are those races that come down to the very end, the very last series. Explain to people kind of what that's like in terms of like a clubhouse feel, like when you come to the ballpark every day. What's the focus like within the team? Because we know how close it's going to be. Is there emotions? Is there tension? Or is everybody just kind of taking care of their business, showing up ready to play every night?
Man, it's how the wave of it goes throughout the course of the season. You spring training, everybody's everybody's the best. You're the best shape you've ever been in. You're the best team you've ever gonna play on, and then you go and you get off to a start, and then see how the start happens. You're not gonna. I mean, I think you can lose a division, but I don't think you're not gonna win the division in the first 2 months. And then you go through the middle of the season, and it's kind of like, all right, this is where you separate yourself here. The good teams, you show up and you go out and do your thing, and then the bad teams kind of fizzle away, and and you kind of they get taken back, and then you get to the third half of the season, the last month and a half, and it's like, all right, now let's see, where are we? Let's see where we are, and I think we've been fairly consistent throughout the course of the year. I mean, we've had our stretches where we've won a bunch of games in a row. We had a couple where you lose a couple games in a row. But now it's just kind of like win every day. I mean, you got to show up and you show up. I think everyone's taking care of their own business. Like you said earlier, it's kind of like, let me do the best that I can do in my particular craft in this particular day. And let everybody else we've got a lot of veterans on this team, and we've got some guys who have been around and guys who have won. So there is more emotion. There is more, I don't know if tension is the right word. Probably not, but like competitive, just that, like that give a shit, I call it like your gas level, like you give a shit level, it just continues to, your meter just fills up, right? Like, I mean, I want to say like, yeah, you give a shit throughout the course of the season, but when it comes down to it, I mean, you're tilting and you're for the most part, your whole life revolves around the game that particular day. So our gas meter, our give a shit level is high, and it's going to be a fun month for us for sure.
Yeah, I mean it's nut cutting time really, and it's time where you expect to get everybody's best, not just from yourself and your teammates, but from everybody you're playing against, teams that are trying to get in, or if you're playing a bottom feeder, so to speak. Those guys are trying to show what they can do for next season, trying to make a club.
Yeah.
So with that being said, and as tense as things can get at this point in the season, what are some ways that like you try and you got to have that separator, you got to get away from the game from time to time. Mm-hmm. So like when you go home or when you wake up, like what's a typical day for you like? Like what are some other things you like to do other than just like focusing on only baseball all the time?
Yeah. I'm like a wanderer, man. Like I like to just get up and explore. I'll just get up and I'll just take off. Like we'll be in a city or we'll be, hell, who knows where we'll be. And I'll just get up and they're like, where are you going? I'm like, I'm just going. I got to make sure that I grab some coffee, some water somewhere. And I'll grab a little food somewhere, and then I'm just out. Like I just see what I see for an hour or two. And then like if we're on the road, I'll just get up and I'll go. If I'll find like a body of water or like some trees. I love trees, bro. I just sit under a tree and I'll just be looking at them and walk. Like I'm weird. I know I'm a weirdo.
No, that's good shit.
But
it's cool. Grounding's big these days.
Yeah, it is. It's more important now than it's ever been. So doing that's one reason. I like through the middle of the summer a little bit, I would get up and play golf. I would maybe like once in between starts. I wouldn't go twice in between starts. I try to go once in between like every 2 starts or something. But I did have a rule to myself. Like I was like, all right, I will go. I love to play, and I get my trees in, my green in. I love and lay down on the grass and I do that. I love doing that. I try to get into fishing a little bit, but I mean, I was in Minnesota and they call it the land of the lakes, and I'm like, all right, let me get some fishing in, and I caught one fish in Minnesota, and I swear to you, it was about this big. And I was like, maybe this fishing thing ain't for me.
No, it ain't for me either, really, man. I'm more about drop the line in, like deep sea kind of stuff, and something's gonna bite. I'm not good with that technique shit, but it's good to hear that you're a wanderer because I was the same way, and I told guys, look, you never know how long you're gonna be able to come to these cities and experience it. Like, don't sleep until noon or 1 o'clock and then go to the field. And like when things aren't going well, you need something else to do. So like I'd love to hear, like I would, and you're in New York now, I would get up and I'd text 3 or 4 guys, hey, meet me in the lobby at 9:30, 10 o'clock, and we're just gonna go check shit out. Like I used to love to go to walk to Central Park, like check out all the weirdos on the street. Maybe buy like a couple CDs from people trying to sling CDs on the street, like whatever it is, man. Just experience the city. So have you like kind of instilled that in some of the younger guys? Like, hey man, like no, we're going to breakfast, we're going to lunch, we're doing this, we're going to check out trees. Like, have you kind of taught them kind of the way of the road a little bit?
In ways, yeah. It's changed a little bit from. I mean, now it's all like. Too, you would come in and you sit at a hotel bar and then you get up and I mean there are different ways, but we've had some guys that would get up and we'll say, all right, you said 9:30, 10. That's kind of where I'm like getting out of bed at 9:30,
Yeah.
and then by 10 o'clock I'm like, all right, I gotta. That's when my day kind of gets started, especially on the road. I'm like, 10 o'clock, I'm going to do something, and then if I need to come back, I'll come back and hang out at the hotel, and yeah, there's two types of routines. There's people who do that, and then there's the guys who do sleep, like I said, sleep until 12, grab them of food or something, and then go to the field, and then they stay up probably until like 2 or 3 in the morning, and do that cycle all over
Yeah.
again. I'm the earlier cycle. We're probably like half and half on this team. So yeah, we get some guys that go up and they think I'm crazy because every time I'm looking at these damn trees right now, and I go and I look at them, I'm like, man, that's just. I'm like, you can't buy that. You just can't buy that, bro. So yeah, we've got a good group that will go. We'll just go explore, man. Just explore. And then there's about half the guys who like to do who do the sleeping in and doing that. It's all. I mean, it's dealer's choice, I guess. But I'm on Team Wander.
Yeah. Have you been that way forever? 10 years in the big leagues, come up with the Oakland Athletics. When you get to the Oakland Athletics, you kind of like burst onto the scene right away. High draft pick, everybody kind of. Were you like that out of the gate, or did you want to get comfortable in the big leagues before you started to kind of wander off on your own a little bit?
I don't like wandering I don't like wandering off on my own. I like doing it with people, but I will do it on my own if that's the case. I don't know. In Oakland, it was a little different. It was I was young, so it was sleep wasn't a thing. Like
It takes sketchy, maybe.
Yeah,
there's a couple sketchy areas here and there. You kind of figure it out.
You gotta get in the sketchy areas just enough. You gotta get the hair sticking up on your neck.
I agree.
Just enough.
I found them all in Cincinnati too.
Hey, yeah, it's easy.
I found them all there. Yeah. That was one of my favorite spots to just go walk around. And did you eat Eli's barbecue much?
No, I never had it. Oh man!
All right.
Next time we go, I'll get it.
Unbelievable. And there's like little markets around. It's different as a home player, right? Because you're probably staying outside the city, and then you just come in to to go to the field. But man, Cincy, there's some sketchy shit going on. And you're right though. You got to make yourself a little uncomfortable. I think it's good for you. It's good for you. But you don't want to go too far, especially late at night in Cincy. You end up in some weird shit.
Yeah, I try to like the late at night stuff. I'm kind of like I'll pique my interest just enough, but during the day, like I got to walk through some of the areas where people tell me not to go, just to say that I did it, and just to do it for my own psyche, I guess.
Yeah.
But away off season, you're in Nashville, right?
Yeah, Nashville.
Yeah. So what's your spread like in Nashville? You gotta have at least 10, 15 acres, right, with just trees everywhere.
I got a lot of trees. That's the running joke, bro. I got some of this. There's some common area in our neighborhood. We live in a neighborhood, and behind it, one of my good buddies lives behind us, and I think there's like 20 acres behind us with a little creek that goes through it. So we spend a lot of time back there catching crawdads and just doing all different stuff that whatever you think. But I got some common area in our neighborhood that's not mine, but it's kind of part of the neighborhood, and I really kind of just was like, you know what, like that looks like that's a good area for a lot of trees to be planted. So I just kind of like slowly started putting tree farms in there. I put like 10 green giant trees, 10 Lelands, 10 pine trees, 10 maples, 10 oaks, and I kind of just like section them off. I got my little own tree farm over there on the side. People are like, what the hell I got about 10 magnolias, just kind of like just sectioned off, and like I don't know, I can see why now that I'm talking it out loud, I can see why people are like that's a weirdo, man. But like now it's just kind of like I got a little walking trail that we kind of go through back there, a little bridge that goes over to the farm that you look. It's a good setup for us for sure, but it's made for a wanderer.
We had Cease on last week or maybe 2 weeks ago, and he's big into farming. And he wants to grow an orchard. He wants to plant an orchard. So you got any plans of doing like any fruit trees? Because I'm talking to Cease about going out with him in the off season, planting an orchard, playing some disc golf. So yeah, that's it's interesting to hear like the kind of interest that guys have Because people wouldn't expect that. Like, no, Sonny Gray's growing trees. Like, what's going on?
Hey, you like disc golf?
Well, I'm about to start playing because of Cease.
Don't do it.
Are you like it?
I played 5 or 6 times this last off season, and it was
You enjoyed it.
I did enjoy it.
All right. So
gotta
as a
give it a
golfer,
real shot.
okay, because as a golfer, I'm like, would I rather play disc golf or real golf? And that for me right now, it's golf. I'm going golf every single time.
Me too.
But I just got to get out there and do it.
But if you got 2 hours, you can go do disc golf. You know what I'm saying? If you got 2 hours, like I don't have the 4 hour, I don't have the full day to go do golf. Like, because what I did learn about disc golf when I played it a few times is the thinking is the same as golf. Like you're still trying to hit a cut or trying to hit a draw around something and still landing it in the same areas as you you know what I'm saying? Like the thinking of where you hit a golf ball and like, okay, my miss needs to be here because it's the same with disc golf. It's just, throwing a little disc instead of hitting a little white ball.
And then he said also he doesn't do he only does the backhand, I guess, during the season because, throwing the forehand could like mess up the elbow a little bit. So I need to go get a set, I guess, and find some courses because he's like, man, you'll love it. He does content on YouTube and shit. He's an interesting dude.
That's cool.
I had no idea about that. So maybe we got to start playing a little disc golf, Carl.
Yeah, I'm on it.
You and Carl, what's your activities like?
Yeah, I am a huge golfer, and that's what we were trying to get Cease going on the golf train. And he's like, no, I don't golf. Like, who on the team golfs? I don't know, not a lot of guys. But then he just brings up casually disc golf. I was like, well, what about this disc golf stuff? That's why I was laughing when we brought it up. 30 minutes later, we're still talking about the angles and geometry. Then, I go to a charity event, and Cease and I are at it. We end up talking for like 2 more hours about disc golf. And I'm not saying 2 hours is an exaggeration. We sat down. We were going through. I had so many waters. It was a big conversation. Hey, Jake brought something up. I would love to hear the story from you, Sonny, about like Jake was saying Dylan does not throw the disc a certain way to prevent injury concerns. There's this great story in your career of like not being able to play I don't know if it's a great story, but there was like injury concerns, or what's the story about like an insurance policy where you couldn't play for Team USA because there was something about like, oh, it's too big of an injury risk and we can't get him added to our insurance policy. Did I read that correctly?
Yeah, it was something like, so that was the last WBC. I got invited to play, and I was like, yeah, I'm in. Like, I definitely want to do it. And then I remember Joe Torre was calling around asking about all this stuff, and I told him, I was like, I'm in. I want to play. And then something came up, I guess, for the WBC. I guess it's before spring. Everyone goes on. Everyone gets checked and gets done by some like outside doctor or something about doing an insurance policy in case you get hurt. I guess the teams recommended or mandated. I'm not super sure how that worked. I just know that I was committed to playing. And then 2 weeks later, they told me that I wasn't healthy. When was that? Was it the last WBC 17?
It was like 2017, yeah.
They told you weren't healthy.
It was weird, bro. I guess they looked back at my 16 season, and I went on the IL maybe twice in my 16 season. I think I had an elbow, like a small little an elbow thing, but it wasn't a crazy elbow thing, and I missed about a month and a half. And I came and pitched one of the last games of the season. Then I was healthy all off season, and I was throwing and doing everything. Something came back. I don't know the story great, Carl, but like I remember it being like kind of was like I was kind of like pissed off about it. And then I went to spring training and everything was fine. And I don't know. I don't really know the story completely. Just that they came back and told me that I didn't pass an something with insurance and
yeah.
I don't know how insurance works ever in anything. Clearly, I mean, this or
we got plenty of it, but we don't know how it works. I'm with you.
So I didn't pass the test, I guess.
Well, the big sentiment I get is that you're a guy who wants to participate. Like, if you want to play for your country, and they're like, "Come play for the country," like that's obviously a shitty situation. Not to change gears too much. You still talk to Derek Johnson at all?
I talk to him a lot. I do.
Yeah.
Not clearly not as much as we did, but I know for sure, like if I get anything coming out or anything, like I'm hitting that man up.
Derek Johnson, the pitching guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, pitching guy.
Yeah. Oh,
He
yeah.
was with the
He was
he
with
was
us for a
when
little
you were in
while.
he was the coordinator, minor league coordinator, I think, in Chicago, right?
Yep. And we worked together for a couple years. And then he left. But man, very highly regarded, very, very intelligent. Just a great set of eyes that any young guy or any pitcher for that matter would benefit from having close by. And you know what? And you could probably talk about this a little bit. When the analytics got to a point where
Man.
there were just numbers and numbers, like it got bizarre. There weren't the same amount of like high quality pitching guys as there were, because everyone's just trying to rely on these numbers that you can see on a sheet of paper. But then guys weren't able to help make adjustments with the eyeball test, like the old school way of doing it. And that to me was frustrating. So guys like
I
DJ
think
just were kind of gone by the wayside.
I think you said it too, and I don't think you used the word. You said like pitching guys, but you didn't say like pitching coaches. I think the term like coach, like what is it? Like the definition, maybe term of coach, maybe it got kind of pushed away to the side, and it was kind of like I'm not gonna coach the person anymore. I'm gonna push the numbers. I'm gonna tell you what the numbers need to be, but I'm not gonna. It, it it was far and few between of coaches to help you, hear or help you, like or build you up a little bit when you need to be coached. Like the person needs to be coached, not like not the let me get 200 RPMs on my fastball and then throw it in this location part of the player, like, but the mental side of the game and like the physical, like how okay, like I understand that I need to do that, but how do I do it rather than.
Yes, that's the truth.
So that was that's why I do love DJ, so because he understands that other stuff, but he's always like, if I'm gonna coach, like I need to learn I need to learn who the person is and what the person's about before I can help them. Rather than so he's big on that. Like I said, I've known him my whole life too. Like he was my pitching coach at Vandy, and then we fortunately I got to back in Cincinnati, got to work with him again, and it was crazy because when I was at Vandy, he's that guy, like I'm in college and it's you're 18, 19, and you're just kind of like, you look at him and you're just scared to death. Like this man is just intimidating he's just the most intimidating person you'll ever see. And I'm like, all right, all right. And then we went to a couple weddings. Like my teammates, the people that he coached, went to some weddings, and we had a lot of waters together. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh, this, and then we get to know each other, and we go to do some karaoke together, and we get to sing in karaoke. And we have a couple nights, and then 3 or 4 years later, go back to Cincinnati, and I was way less scared of him at that point. Now it was kind of like, but it was great to get there again, because it was like, all right, let's just, like, you are who you are, Sonny. Like, go be yourself. Like, just go be you. Just go be you. Like, you don't need to know how to do this or this. Just go be yourself, and like every day, just go be you. And that was the biggest thing. It wasn't like when I went back there, it wasn't like you need to do this, this, this. The biggest thing was like, I just go be you, Sonny. Just like, took the restraints off and just allowed me to go be myself again.
Yeah, you said it best too. When guys would say they look at your spin rate and all this shit, the spin axis, the efficiency, say, well, we need to get this up 10%, or we need to increase this by 200 RPMs. How the hell do I do that? Rather than, okay, maybe I don't need to increase my spin rate at all, because there are guys that are very, very successful that have maybe super high velocity, low spin rate. Like your average fastball is, 92, 93, but you have super high spin rate on your breaking ball and your fastball. So, biomechanically and just like genetic gifts are what they are. So rather than trying to make me spin the ball like Sonny Gray or somebody else, why don't you help me with my front side, or with my balance, or with my tempo to the plate, things like that. That's what makes a pitching coach, and that's what really helps guys get from where they're at to the next level.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. What's the story about? Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna ask, what was the biggest thing for you? What was that 15 when you went on that that's when you won a Cy Young, went on that run?
15 was when I won the Cy Young, and honestly, before I got traded to Chicago, I was in a process of being changed by a couple different people. And when you get to the big leagues, I had a ton of success in the minor leagues. I get to the big leagues, and it's like right away we're going to change things. We're going to redo your
Yeah.
delivery. We're going to change
Same.
your timing, and that frankly that just happens because pitching coaches have a lot of stuff on the line too. They want to say,
Yeah.
they want to put their stamp on guys. Like, hey, Arrieta was my guy. I helped him get to where he was, or Sonny's my guy. And there's a little bit of selfishness in a certain sense, but the best guys, they take what they've got and they try and make you a little bit better. And with young kids, I don't care unless their delivery is just completely jacked up. But if a kid has certain things under control, I'm not going to try and change the way he moves, because I'm sure if you look back at videos or pictures of the way you threw when you were 10 years old, it's probably very similar to the way you throw now.
Yep.
So
They tried to
you,
change it right when I got in the pro ball, same as you. Try to
yep,
change it, and then I
exactly.
sucked for a minute, and they were like, "Go be yourself."
So when I got to Chicago, I talked to Theo. I talked to Chris Bosio, the pitching coach. I said, "Look, I'm going to come over there. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it my way, and I'm just going to I'm going to let everything out. I'm going to throw the shit out of the ball. I'm going to make some small adjustments, and if you guys have advice, then we'll work on that. But I'm going to go back to the way that I used to do things when I had success." And that was it, man. I mean, I was always a guy that was slow to the plate, but I wasn't going to jeopardize my stuff to be a one to the plate. And that's kind of what they
Right.
wanted me to do in Baltimore. They did the same thing with Mattis and Chris Tillman and Zach Britton. It just didn't work.
You
We're
just
all
said,
different.
I'm just not gonna let anybody get on base."
Not well, hey, and if you do, well, what do and you're quick to the plate, but guys that are a little slower to the plate, you vary your timing, you vary your holds.
There's other ways. There can be other ways.
There's other ways you pick a little bit more. But the last thing I want to do is try and be a one to the plate and hang something and, hey, okay, now I give up a 2-run homer. So, and that's, everyone expects the best coaching to be in pro ball or at the higher levels. And you've experienced that. Some of the best coaching you probably ever had was in college or maybe even in high school. So young kids have to understand you have to take charge of your own career. And that can be difficult as a young player, right? To say, well, I don't want to do it that way. Because as like a first-year player or a guy just getting to the big leagues, it's hard to tell an instructor or a coach, like, hey, I'm not doing that. You know what I mean?
But the good ones will understand that you need that as a player and as a pitcher. Like what I felt the best kind of relationships when they work hand in hand, is when it's like dialogue going back and forth between the coach and the player. And then there's got to be that mutual ground between both sides. Like, we're all in here for one goal. We're all in here to make me the best pitcher that I can be. And my input matters. You know what I'm saying? Like, what I say and what I think out there, I'm the one out there throwing the ball. I'm the one out there got the ball in my hand. Nothing starts until I've released this. Like, what I think and what I say should have a lot of value to it, because, like I said, I'm the direct one doing it. So I think there can be some mutual grounds there. But I just remember every airplane we were like, oh, did Arrieta? I didn't know you at the time. I just was following. I was like, was Arrieta pitching today? Oh, look, we just follow it. We just followed. I'm like, well, shocker. There's a shocker. That was fucking special, man. That was cool.
Let's take a quick break from Sonny Gray to talk about our good friends at Ridge Wallet. Ridge Wallet is an ultra slim minimalist wallet. It holds up to 12 cards plus room for cash. There's over 30 colors and styles, including carbon fiber and burnt titanium. The wallets have over 50,000 5-star reviews, so you know this is a high-quality product. It's got durable material, means each wallet comes with a lifetime warranty. That's right, a lifetime warranty. The Ridge team's so confident that you'll like it that they'll let you test drive it for 45 days. You can send it back for a full refund if you don't love it. It's made with RFID blocking technology that protects you from digital pickpocketers. I just put one in my pocket, and I can't tell you how satisfied I am with the Ridge wallet. Every time I take out my wallet, whether it's to pick up dinner for a big group of guys or whether it's going to the sports book and placing a wager. I feel confident, comfortable, cool, and sleek because I'm using a Ridge wallet. Check out their site, ridge.com. That's ridge.com, and use code STARTING9 for 10% off your order. And with every dollar spent on the website before September 30th, you'll be entered to win a brand new upgraded Ford Bronco or $75,000 if you prefer cash. That's a great giveaway. Go check it out, ridge.com. Use the code STARTING9 for $10 off your first order. Let's get back to Sonny Gray.
It was a hell of a run, and look, you coming on the show, we just want to let you know we had Zach Gallen on, who hasn't given up a run in like 45 innings. We had Cease, he just almost threw a no-no, and he's fucking nasty, by the way.
I watched that one.
Yeah, and then Luis Castillo, I don't know if he's given up a run since he's been on. And not that you need any help, but we're just saying, man, in this last push in September, I think it's going to help you out.
I love it.
Yeah, it's like the new analytic for baseball. The new advanced stat is whether or not you've appeared on the show. That's it.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, were you saying this to the Twins in the offseason when you're picking a destination? It sounds like you've got just a ton of experience to know like what a good fit is for you. And the story of Jake coming over and having that conversation with Theo is very interesting to me because you guys are both coming from backgrounds where it's like, hey, I just want to be myself. I want to be more involved in this. So like when you were coming out of Cincinnati, were you looking for a place that was like open in that? How did the Twins recruit you?
So I was traded. I was traded here, so I was in Cincinnati, and then that was part of like
you fucked that up. You just
yeah. Hey, I was just gonna,
you know what?
You know what? I was gonna let him just kind of roll with
me.
it, but I was like, you know what, Carl?
God damn it!
And you know what? I did my research. I got a number of questions here about your early days, pal. So
I was like, I got traded, but I did. But coming to Minnesota, it was kind of like it felt like it was kind of like the begin like. It was like pitching. Let's get like pitching, and that's what like for me that was. As soon as I got traded over here, it was like I said, Cincinnati. They did that completely. Like just let me just get rid of everybody and see what happens. So originally I was kind of like Minnesota. Don't really know much about it, but then I enjoy just I enjoy pitching. I enjoy talking pitching. What's up, Jorge? I enjoy. Everything that kind of goes around with it. So I was just excited to learn. And then I felt like I talked to DJ for a while again, and he was like, you're equipped with everything that you need. Like everything that you need, you understand. Like, he's like, you don't need me, bro. You go do your thing. And it's been fun. Like I said, coming over here, I just had to start with pitching, like pitching. Like if you, like our conversation, just everything just revolves around pitching because that's kind of like, I needed baseball first. Like for me, like when I'm at like, let me get my baseball brain working. And so I don't come over here and just like not get that part going. But we've got some young guys that I really enjoy working with and really enjoy like spending time with. We've got some older guys on the staff too that I've really been able to learn from. I've really enjoyed spending time with. We had that weird pitching coach change in the middle of the season, which was a weird one. First place team, we were like 10 games over 500. So it was we had a shortened spring. I got there a little bit late. So we had, everyone, let's get to know everybody real quick. Let's do our thing. That's why I was hence back pitching. And then we get off to a start and we're doing pretty well. And then it's like, boom, right then pitching coach changed. And we were literally on an airplane and we're getting ready to take off on the airplane. And one of the younger guys on the team, Twitter pops up on his phone and it's like, pitching coach Wes Johnson leaves and going back to college. And we're like, and he pulls up his phone and says, is this real? And we're literally going like this. Everybody loses service. And we're up in the air. And then it's kind of like, everybody's looking around like, and so they go back and it was real. So then we had like 4 games and it was just like sudden new pitching coach on the fly. Which took a little bit of time, which is, everything, it makes sense. Like you're learning a whole new person, a whole new philosophy, a whole new everything right in the middle of the season. So that was weird, but we're back up and running again. So it's all good.
Now, when things like that happen, pitching coach gets fired or leaves or hitting coach, manager, I have a particular, viewpoint on these sort of situations, but it's almost like somebody's got to take the blame. You've been a part of that before. And, I've seen hitting coaches go, I've seen managers, and it's, like at the end of the day, I guess something needed to be done because, the fans wanted some accountability, whatever the case is. But we're the fucking guys out there playing and performing. So have you been in a situation like that where you see a guy go and you're like, really? Like we fired this guy like for what?
Um, yeah, I seen it in Oakland a little bit, I guess. Like you just said it though. Somebody's got to be the scapegoat. Somebody's got to be the guy. Like I seen it in Oakland a little, and then heck, I mean, you saw they did a complete overhaul in New York recently. I guess that was held 2 years ago or something like that. Um, but I'd never been on a. I'm fortunate enough to have been on like pretty good teams throughout my career, where it's kind of like. But I've never been part of like a mid-season or a mid thing like just complete firing. This one was a little bit different though this year, like I said, because we were first place. Like it wasn't like no one was getting fired. It was just
Right.
up and like so this one was yeah, this is a little. You don't really see that one as much. I don't think I've ever seen it. Um, but I mean, which is crazy to me. Like I don't know, some
Yeah,
Major League Baseball might not be the most financially, the highest level is not the most financially rewarding place.
that's true.
Which is interesting in its own right.
Wait, I got to ask you. So in his first full season, what are your impressions of Joe Ryan? Because to me, he's a guy, and we have mutual friends, so he wants to come on the show. But I compared him kind of early on to a guy like Aaron Nola, just kind of with his delivery, his arm angle, and his stuff, very polished. So what are your impressions of Mr. Joe Ryan?
He likes Aaron Nola a lot. We watch a lot of Aaron Nola video. I can see it too. He he's got one of those fastballs that just play.
Yeah,
He's got. I mean, if you talk about a kid, the confidence is there. I mean, sometimes you can't get him to just shut up. Sometimes he's got that, which is, and I tell him I think that's a good thing to have. Um, he's just learning to like over the course, just learning to pitch a little bit more. Like he's got a couple of elite pitches that he just throws through, but now he's just learning to to pitch like the early curveball or something to grab a strike, to let him
yeah,
see your heater one last time. His changeup is just getting like better and better and better and better, and his slider's getting. I feel like just throughout the beginning in this, like he's just really learning how to pitch rather than just get out there and like he's got an idea. He's got an understanding of himself. He's one of those young guys that I was talking about. He's fun to work with. He's fun to play with. Uh, he's fun to be on the same team with. We still got to get him to. I mean, we got like a month left, and we're still trying to make sure that he grabs the beer for the bus every time we leave a road clubhouse. So
yeah, that's one thing you can't forget. Come on, boys.
yeah, he's doing better. He's doing better.
All right.
So he's a good one, man. He's all over the place. But hey, I guess we all were at some point.
No doubt, no doubt.
Is Rocco? Does he look like he can still play?
He looks like it. Yeah, he does. He does. Old Rock. He looks like he can grab his jersey and get out there and run around.
Yeah, I saw there was some good competitive beef with the White Sox over the weekend. That's great
Hey,
stuff as we come down
those,
the stretch.
Yeah, he had some veins coming out. They were getting after it out there. I pitched that game and I was taken out and I was back. I was in the training room watching and I was just like, "Woo, that looks like it's some fire going on out there." That was good to see.
Yeah. This is my last question I had written down. I'm super interested in this part. I've actually, honestly, been waiting to ask you this. I have just such a profound appreciation for professional athletes that do stuff other than sports, that think of life outside of sports. And I saw this footnote that you were a star in the high school theater. Were you chasing a girl? Is it being on stage, like you like performing on the mound?
That's a great
Did you guys
question.
have like a good theater program? What is Sonny Gray doing on stage?
Bro, that is a good question. I don't know, man. In our high school, it started with we had a teacher that we were kind of like family friends, I guess I would say. Like my family and we were kind of family friends, and it was it was a fun program to be, and it was kind of like also one of those classes where it just started as it was I could fill up. I was kind of like you could fill up the 2 hours of your day just kind of like bullshitting around in drama class. Like you could just kind of hang out and really not just do anything. You just kind of go into a section of the school where you just kind of you're just hanging out. And started there, and then kind of later in the season, it was like musicals coming up, and I'm like, oh. And at this time, I think it was my junior year, and I would play quarterback for the football team, and I was pitcher, shortstop for the baseball team, and our football team was #1 in the state. We were just doing our thing, and sure as shit, she pulls up and she do a High School Musical, like here comes high, and I'm like, man. And at the time, like I don't have it as much anymore, but I had like the blonde hair kind of going to my thing. I had some highlights rolling through me. Like I looked the part, like you look at like Southern high school quarterback based. Like I looked as much the part as you could possibly look at. So we going through this thing, and we're like, all right, now we're going to do a musical. And she's like, I want you to be Troy Bolton. And I'm like, have you heard this voice? Like, so the first thing was we had to like sing in front of everyone. I was like, you know what? Screw it. Like, who gives a shit? Like, I'll just go for it. So I started singing, and I actually like fell in love with this like role. I was walking around the house, and I was just singing 24/7. My mom and my stepdad were just like, shut up, just stop. And so and this is right in the middle of football season. So I'm doing music. I'm going school, football practice, and then musical. School, football practice, and then musical practice, like over and over. State championship week comes. We won the football state championship. The next week, it was Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. It was the musical time. So I mean, I don't know, bro. In my little small town, Smyrna, that I grew up in, it literally was like just couldn't have played out. It was literally living High School Musical, and then going onto the stage. And I mean, our school we just won. Our school was riding high. And then I'm going the next Monday, and my little butt's up there in a little high, and there's videos, there's pictures, and I'm just like, I'm out there just going for it, just letting it rip. And it was fun though, man. Like it was Coach Corbin, who's the Vanderbilt coach. He actually came to one of the musicals.
No.
Yeah, he brought him, Maggie, Molly, and Hannah, and his whole family, his wife and his two stepdaughters. They came, sat in the musical, and he's just like, what? I sent him there's one scene, and like this is kind of how our relationship started. There's like not started, but kind of kept growing. There's one scene, and I'm sitting there I'm in a class, and I'm sitting there, and I pull out my phone just like you really would in school, and I'm kind of texting right there, and I texted Coach Corbin something. I was like, "What's up, dog? How you like how I said, how am I doing up here?" And something like that. And he's just and I'm staring at him, and it's just it was a fun time for sure. But I got a horrible voice. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Well, hey, for the fact that you got up there and did it and went for it, man, you got some balls for doing it. I know a lot of people wouldn't. That's a great story.
It was fun.
Can you give us one note real quick? Like what was the
I had this acapella one, and it was like, when they're like, they get real deep into it, and they're like, we're soaring, fly, and I'm running around the stage. That's all I got. That was me like trying real hard right there. It's me like running around the stage, like got my wings spread open. I'm just like, man, I look back and I'm just like, it was fun though. It was a good time. I will say, like, I grew an appreciation for that type of thing, or musicals, plays, because like I did grow appreciation for the ins and outs of like how those people the practice of all the stuff that they got to remember, and the way the sets change. Like I really enjoyed it.
Man, that's a hell of a finish to this. We don't want to take up any more time. It's awesome to have you. Again, look, I expect you to probably not give up a run the rest of the year and get your team in the postseason. Thanks a lot, and hey, good luck with the rest of the series with the Yankees and throughout September, man. Look forward to watching you pitch in October.
Thanks, brother. Let's if we get in the same city or something, let's get on that golf course.
No doubt, and I'll shoot you a text, or I'll get your number somehow.
All
right, bro.
All right, that's Sonny Gray. And I will say personally, the coolest part for me to sit and listen to is getting into like the just let Sonny be Sonny. Let me be me. Let the starting pitcher be me. And there's so much focus outside of baseball. Guys like me that don't play, that don't have exposure to the dugout in the clubhouse, that see it as like, oh, they're just manipulating this. They're telling you what to do this. These guys are just like robots, and you're hearing it from somebody who's pitched, like 2,000 innings in the big leagues talking about, no, dude, it's about just feeling comfortable within yourself. So I really like that part.
It's the numbers they're your numbers on the back of your baseball card. So at some point, you have to take charge and take control of the situation. But it's a difficult position for a young player to be in because you want to be coachable. You want to try things that you expect your instructors or your coaches, to have your best intentions or their best intentions to kind of help you build into that guy. But sometimes it just doesn't work out, and you have to say, hey, I've tried these things. I've tried to work on everything you wanted me to do. It's not working. I know a better way to do it, and I'm just going to go out there and be myself, because if I pitch well, everybody looks good anyways. So sometimes the coaches have to put their pride aside and just let the guy be themselves, just like, we talked about with Sonny.
And I know a lot of Yankees fans, you say the name Sonny Gray around Yankees fans, are like, oh, that guy doesn't want the ball. And I don't think that could be further from the truth. You listen to this guy talk, and I mean, this is a guy who just wants the ball at all times. I think it's just more a sense of like let me just go do my thing. So I'm glad that he was able to talk about that. Very, very cool from my end. And like I said at the top of the show, like that's a guy who's been doing it. When I was playing college baseball, I was like, yo, have you heard about Sonny Gray? So
yeah,
that was cool.
Yeah, I mean, he's in his 10th season. I think he's got 9 years. He'll get 10 next year. Tremendous accomplishment. I mean, most guys are lucky to get 3 or 4 years. So to do what he's done, he's got almost 1,400 innings, and it doesn't seem like he's slowing down anytime soon. And look forward to him. I would assume that the Twins will pick up his option for next season, and if he doesn't, he'll hit the free agent market and turn that into I'm sure another 3 or 4 year deal for himself.
Yeah, look great in a Cubs uniform if he did. Okay, let's have some fun. There's some stuff I want to get to. We talked about Tristan Casas on our Tuesday morning show, and then he goes out, hits his first career bomb, moonshot against the Tampa Bay Rays. We're buying stock in Tristan Casas.
I guess we have to. Everything I've heard about him thus far, I'm a fan. Seems like a great player. I need to look a little bit deeper into it. Everybody I talk to, though, likes the kid, says he's got tremendous upside. So I think the stock is one that'd be smart to buy right now. I agree with you.
And we're into grounding. You heard it with Sonny Gray. Like, the grounding is a thing. We're into the earth. We are. If you're somebody who likes the earth, you have a bright future in baseball, obviously.
Yeah, well, it helps. Grounding is really important.
O'Neal Cruz, 1,000 homers. I'm just saying it now. Like, I think he's going to hit 1,000 home runs.
I've said it. I've alluded to it in the past, but I think he most certainly is going to be one of the most dominant power hitters this game has ever seen. And look at the home run he hit last night. He hit an out front off his front foot, kind of went down to get it, pulled it down the line, just an absolute laser into the Allegheny. And when most guys hit a ball into the river, like it's a back leg, like, really good exit velocity, but not this guy. I mean, he's out front, barrels it, and just hits an absolute missile into the river. I mean, it probably, when it passed like the last row of seats, it was probably 10 feet over those. Just absolutely demolished it and hit it off one of my best friends, Tommy Hunter, and off of Collins Mets. So, sorry, Tommy, but man, you just cannot throw that pitch there to that guy. I mean, he's a special talent. I hope he hits 800-900 homers. I really hope so.
If you guys listen to Justin Turner interview, then I think kind of like the reason it jumps out to me is very early into his career, O'Neal Cruz, has the athleticism to hit that ball fair is insane to me. Like having the bat control to be able to get that where it's not just like smashed foul down the right field line. The athleticism, all these like natural things are there. And I'm referencing the Justin Turner interview because like he had carved out a career in the big leagues, like 29, 30 years old with an offensive approach, like middle other way. And then through like a lot of training, a lot of work, a lot of insight, talking to different guys, going to the Dodgers, then makes like fundamental swing changes, approach changes that then allows him to hit for like a high slug and a high power and, drive the ball. And so like the excitement with O'Neal Cruz is seeing like a 23-year-old raw kid with like all this athleticism that just so effortlessly leaves the park. If you then think from the terms of like how much Justin Turner did to his offensive approach to become like a complete player, like O'Neal Cruz can just he just has to get like marginally better each year.
Marginally, you're right, and that's a great point. And just he showcases the ability to hit the ball to all parts of the ballpark with power. And there are a lot of guys in the game that have pop. There's no question about it. But a lot of these balls that he's hitting, for most guys, it's like a double in the gap. And it's just like effortless power, like 30, 40 feet over the fence at least. I mean, the homer he hit to left center in Pittsburgh on a line was one of the more impressive homers that I've seen him hit. The one off Corbin Burns with barely any launch angle at all, and it goes 440 feet. He's a special player. I'm glad we have him in a major league uniform to enjoy, watching him. I mean, if you're just a fan of the game, and whether you like the Pirates or not, I mean, he's worth watching every time he steps in the box, and he's only going to get better. And you're right, he only needs to make these minor improvements, slowly but surely. These minor improvements, in 2 or 3 years. Just imagine what this kid could potentially turn into.
God, I hope the Pirates try and build around him. I hope they look at what the Diamondbacks are doing and are like, wait a second, it's going to take a little bit of time. But I know that ownership group is as cheap as any ownership group in baseball. And if there was one team that absolutely should sell, I would say it's the Pirates. And the Orioles are a distant second, and that is something that they should have been. My point of the Pirates should build around O'Neal Cruz, and I don't want to have this conversation a year from now being like, well, I don't understand why the Pirates are so shitty. It's like, you guys have some
He's
going to
be in the conversation soon as one of those guys. It's like a group of 5 to 10 guys. Like, take your pick of who you would want to build a team around. And O'Neal Cruz will be one of those guys.
Speaking of rookies, there was a rookie debut last night. The Cubs traded Scott Efros this season in kind of a head-scratching move to the Yankees for Hayden Wesneski.
Wesneski sounds correct. Yeah, and when I heard this story, just really excited to talk about it and the way that it happened, right? Like Wade Miley started the game and pitched 4 innings, I believe, and he kind of joked before, like, "Hey, why are you talking to me? I was just the opener." And they were in Florida, and he goes to the gas station, to get breakfast, right? He ends up getting a cold brew. He's looking for like a frozen burrito, like it's some real minor league shit. And Marty Peavy calls him in the office. Marty Peavy is one of my favorite guys of all time, AAA manager for the Cubs, and lets him know he's going to the show. Ends up throwing 5 innings of relief, gives up 2 hits, no runs, a walk, 8 punchies for his first win, and just like looks really polished. He's got very nice command of his slider. It's one of those sliders that looks like a fastball for a really, really long time, or curveball. I don't know if he calls it a curveball or slider. It's got more slider action. It's more like a 2.7 kind of break. And he only throws it, let's say 80 to 84 miles an hour, which isn't really hard for a slider if that's what he calls it. But I feel like it plays harder than it is. It looks like a strike for a long time, and then just before you know it, it's kind of taking that left turn. And then I saw him throw a few changeups, like 87, 88 miles an hour, that all kind of tunnel in that same window. And I saw Pitching Ninja do a breakdown of it. And when you can, when it's 2 or 3 frames before the plate and that ball is kind of still in that same window, it's really difficult to pick up and difficult to square up. So it seems like Wesneski is going to have a really good career, bright future ahead of him. And that's a really cool debut. I don't remember the last time you see a guy go 5 in relief, ended up picking up a win, and look as polished as he did, right? Because with the 2 hits, the no runs, 1 walk, and 8 punch outs, it's a pretty sexy outing for your first one.
I like the way he was walking around the
Yeah.
mound after he was recording outs, which is a weird thing to say, but he did, to your point. He looked comfortable out there, from the perspective, just like getting the ball back from the catcher, communicating with infielders and stuff. It looked like a guy who
He definitely looked like he belonged. Yeah,
belongs out
and
there. And more than
his
just the
mound
stuff.
presence was great.
Yeah.
His energy was high. He was fired up. I mean, you see a few signs from fans like, welcome to Wrigley or welcome to the show. I forget whatever it said, but the support was there. He was feeling it. And to make your debut in Wrigley Field and get a win in that fashion, that's, like I said, it's one of the coolest debuts I've seen in a long time. And then, Hap hits his 16th homer.
He's getting to the point
20,
where I
so
don't
he's got
want to
4
watch
more
him
to
play
go.
in another uniform.
It's been that way for me for a while. He's just such a classy guy. He's a good player. He's rock solid. You don't hear a lot from him. He's never creating controversy. He's just an easy guy to rally around. He can play all over the field. He hits from both sides of the plate. He's accountable. He's a guy you want. He's a guy you want to play for your team. He is. I mean, is he? Is he a superstar? I don't think he would consider himself a superstar, but he's a very, very solid everyday player that any team would like to have in their lineup.
Yeah. Can we go to Shohei? I got a note on Shohei I thought was pretty cool. You'll like.
Yeah. This was cool.
So, Cody Clemens came in and pitched like a garbage inning and struck out Shohei Ohtani, and it got posted to Instagram that Shohei Ohtani autographed the ball and gave it to Cody Clemens.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just the legend of Shohei in the last 24 hours, they've added that. Then there's the viral clip of him going around playing golf, missing 3-foot putts and like hacking up the course. And now CC Sabathia is going around saying like he's the coolest, sweetest. And CC Sabathia is one of the coolest, sweetest baseball players of all time. And he's like, Shohei Ohtani is my number one dude. Like the Shohei brand is just taken, and again, away from the field stuff, away from being like the most dynamic.
Well, and that just makes him
a guy who's sweet dude.
It makes him even more easy to pull for when you hear how good of a guy he is. He's got a great personality. He's funny. He works extremely hard. He does cool things like that. For Clemens, he's just easy to root for. And you don't have to be a fan of the Angels to appreciate Shohei Ohtani. And like you said, not only for his on-field performances, just the kind of personality he is. Just a great guy, and that's a cool moment. It reminds me a little bit of, I gave up Yoan Moncada's first homer. He hit it off me and, at their place. And after the game, or the next day, I brought him in like a real nice bottle of tequila, and I signed it. Said, congrats on number one, only 499 more to go, and signed it for him. So, yeah, giving up homers sucks, but you recognize the potential and the stardom that's possible for a young player like that, and you appreciate it, and you send along something small like that as a token of your appreciation of their ability, and it is what it is. So guys that do that kind of stuff really stand out to me as something that's good for the game of baseball, and just talent, recognizing talent, and that's what Shohei did.
Not to play psychotherapist, analyst, or whatever, but what compels you to do something like giving him a bottle of tequila?
I didn't know if. Well, I asked the visiting clubby. I said, "Hey, find out what he drinks, what he likes to drink, and let me know. I'm going to bring in a nice bottle of something for him tomorrow, just as a little gift." And I don't know if he's drank it. I hope he does, but I have things like that from my career that I have, in the bar or in the wine cellar that teammates or opponents have given to me, and they've signed and wrote a cool message on it, and it's just a nice memory from your career, and that's something that I like to do. I kind of learned it from guys that came before me, from some veteran guys. It's just fun too. It's fun,
That's I could do like hours on nice gestures from one big league clubhouse to another. I think that's
Yeah, we should. I mean, we could. Let me take some notes. Let me talk to some guys, and you see what you can come up with. And I bet we can get some good ones.
hell yeah.
I'll talk to some like old vets and some younger, like more modern players, and see what they come up with. But I bet we can get some good stories.
Yeah. Here would be a nice gesture if I was in a big league clubhouse and someone hit a home run off me. I would go to the opposing team the next day. I would drop off a whole box of Live Pure. Live Pure is a health and wellness brand that believes in nutrition without the BS. We got to try their water enhancers for hydration, energy, and recovery. Guys, this is what I'm talking about. Hydrate, energy, recovery. These are the three pillars of staying fresh and clean. Great tasting electrolyte enhanced water to help you hydrate 2 to 3 times faster than drinking water alone. Every time I get up in the morning, I drink 33 ounces of Live Pure mixed water because I want the 2 to 3 times faster hydration. Energy-wise, it's jitter-free energy. It's like pre-workout supplement containing 90 milligrams of caffeine, 20 essential nutrients, and 0 added sugars. So all the stuff you want to be putting in your body, none of the stuff you don't. Helps ease muscle soreness and packed with all 9 essential amino acids. Go check out these sticks, guys. The amino acids, it really drives a difference because the electrolytes just aren't enough for rapid rehydration. You guys know this. We talked about hydration earlier in the show about Anthony Rizzo. We're not saying it can or cannot lead to migraines. It's not a scientific thing. I'm just tying together the importance of hydration using a segment we had earlier in the show. So go to livepure.com. That's LIVPUR, livepure.com, and use code starting9 for 25% off your entire order. That's a big one. Livepure.com. Use code starting9 for 25% off your entire order. Okay, so honestly, great show because we got the AL Central stuff with the Twins. We got NL East juice. Remiss not to bring up the Tampa Bay Rays are 4.5 out from the AL East. Plenty of wild card drama. I think when Major League Baseball first said there were going to be 3 wild card teams and they're going to roll out this 3-game format, there's some pushback because the season matters more, 162. It's going to impact trade deadline, team strategy. But really what you're seeing now is, a number of teams that are in the mix for these coveted spots to make the season worthwhile. So
yeah, you're right. And I don't know if I wouldn't completely count the Rays out yet from having an opportunity to win the East. So Tampa's 7-3 in their last 10. Yankees are 4-6. If they win 3 in a row, Yankees lose 3 in a row. I mean they're a game and a half out. Like it could get a little dicey. I'm not saying I want that to happen, but it's something we've seen many times in the past, especially this time of year.
So it's funny that this has happened so often in the past, and particularly like I've watched Cubs teams in 18 and 19. You see it time again with the Rays in the East and late playoff pushes and collapses and the Padres. I mean, like you go down the list, there's just this stuff happens every year, and even so, I sit here on September 8th and I'm surprised. Like I just can't get. It's like at what point will I show up to an MLB season and be like, no, because come September it's going to be up for grabs. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, and it's my favorite month of the year other than October, for a lot of reasons. You're seeing teams, fight to get in. You're watching young players get exposed to this level of play for the first time, and the excitement, just the energy that's associated with it. Is something really cool, and you see it every year. So no surprise that there are teams that are going to be fighting down to the last series of the year. We're gonna be doing a show in person next week. So by then we're gonna have a hell of a lot more to talk about, and we'll see if teams inch closer to maybe taking the lead in the division or just kind of shrinking that gap a little bit. And I'm really interested to see where these wild card spots end up by next week.
Last thing I want to talk about, it's a great point. Yeah, it's like this is the best time where all the drama is. Like last night, just glued to the TV, oh shit, walk off here, Merrill Kelly, Padres. Where like it just sucks. It's not like, oh, let's see what happens. I'm gonna, set a daily fantasy lineup, or I'm gonna, throw some over-unders on the card for the night to like stay in the action. Like you're just glued into what's going on. Now, I do have one last thing on my mind where it's like this could be cause for concern down the stretch. There's a Barstool Fantasy Football League that Dave Portnoy is put himself into with Stephen Shea as the commissioner. This is the MLB like big boy fantasy league that was under the microscope in the early parts of the season. Classic Dave being able to figure out how to we'll do this. That's Dave.
Yep. I mean, just with the drama that was associated with the league, the slap heard around the world. God, just so fucking funny, right? And I'm not a huge fantasy guy. I love football. Obviously, I coach football, some peewee football. And getting into the trading card arena has got me much more excited about the game and following certain players. I've done fantasy a couple times, but I just don't have the drive that a lot of these guys do. And, they've been doing it for years. I respect it. But yeah, this is going to be a really, really fun fantasy league to follow this season. No question about it. A lot of guys that I know well in this league. I know how seriously they take it. So it's going to be fun to watch. And we'll see what sort of dynamic Dave brings to the league.
Yeah, so I've learned very much through this show just more about how like the MLB player, we'll say like player circle, you guys, it's just a really tight brotherhood. Like I think that's the word I would use is brotherhood. You guys have a tremendous amount of respect for each other, and part of that respect comes with this like kind of closed door vibe of like there is a side of you guys that only you guys can know from each other, and the stories and kind of just like the perception of this fantasy league of kind of the stuff that goes on behind the scenes. I'm really surprised these guys voluntarily went into business with Dave Portnoy because everything is on the table with Dave. I mean, fucking everything. Like if Mike Moustakas has a bad weekend and is bitching in the group chat because Shane Bieber, didn't even look at a trade he sent him, like these guys are going to be on the mic with Dave like in December arguing with each other.
That's okay. I think that they embrace that. They want that. It's going to be way more, way more intense than it has been in the past because Dave's in it. But that's good for the league, and that's good for fans that like fantasy football or are big baseball fans that just are curious and want to see how these guys operate in a fantasy league. So the microscope is definitely going to be on this league. It's going to be fun as hell, man. It's going to be fun. I mean, you got Napoli, Yelich, Jace Peterson, Moustakas' team, Tacos and Tequila. I mean, that's my favorite name right there. Yeah, Machado, you got the Conyo squad. That's pretty good. So we'll see what happens. I mean, do you have any favorites? Like,
I have a couple. I don't know about favorites to win the league. I have a couple, concerns. I would say, like, if I'm a Brewers fan, a Padres fan, an Astros fan, a Guardians fan, like, is Shane Bieber's head going to be in that start when they need it? If his team's, chasing 22 points on a Monday night, and and Shane Bieber needs it from like Mike Evans to go out and catch a couple touchdowns. Mike Evans suffers an ACL. I'm not saying that, but like what Mike, he comes out of the game in the second quarter. Is Shane Bieber going to be going in his? It's tough, man. I'm speculating here a little too hard. Obviously, I don't think these guys are going to be too affected in their performance.
I don't think so. I think they take it very seriously, but I don't see it having any effect on the way they play. I mean, I had a hard time following along with all like the waiver wire and the trades and this and that, and so I had a GM with me do it, made it a little bit easier. But I would get these texts, like these long like paragraphs of, this is why I want to do this trade, or we need to look for this. We're a little light here or thin in this position. How do you feel about going after this guy and this guy? I'm like, do what you think is best, because I'm the wrong guy to ask. I'm here to support you with any of the decisions you make, and we'll just leave it at that. And my guy won me a league one year. I ended up giving like 90% of them. I kept the buy-in and just gave him 90% of the money. He was really, really happy with that. It's the least I could do. I'm like, dude, you did all the work. Like, I'll take the buy-in. You take all the winnings.
Is how does Napoli be able to get in the league as like a coach? Is there any sense of like somebody from a front office coming to Napoli and being like, hey man?
No, he in my mind, he's still a player. I think a lot of the guys too, like, still look at Napoli like as a player. I mean, I think some guys still look at D. Ross like that. Like he's still one of the boys. He just happens to be, happens to be in a different role. And Napoli's no different. Like Napoli's still kicking it with all the guys and taking care of his business. Helping the dudes with the routine during the day. And he's a hell of a first base coach. And he takes care of a lot more behind the scenes than that. But yeah, he's like basically our age. I mean, he's older than some of these guys now, but I view Nap just still as one of the boys.
And then the last thing on the league, I'm confused if I'm a Giants fan or I'm a Dodgers fan. I don't know if I like seeing Austin Barnes on the same team as Jock Peterson or. Did I fuck this up? Because I'm looking at Austin Barnes right now in the Dodgers uniform.
Yeah, I mean they're boys. So I mean.
Okay.
It is what it is.
Because, just, fan perspective, people sit here and be like.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Look, that has no, like, it has nothing to do with, like, when guys are competing against each other in between the lines. It's like, all right, we're going to kick your ass on the field, and then we'll hang out and have beers and go over our fantasy lineup, after the game.
That's a good point. I understand. I'm asking that so we can put that out there so that people understand that, there isn't that much bad blood. Speaking of having beers, you're going to be in Chicago next week. Can't wait to have a couple cold ones. I'll be stopping by church on Sunday morning saying a couple safety prayers myself. I will add Cooper and the boys to the list. The Bears kick off on Sunday. We need Justin Fields to give me 17 solid games this year. I got no big expectations for the Bears, but you and I have talked about this before. I'm like very passionate. They can change my mood quickly. Usually not negatively, but positively. Like if I'm not joking, I'll come in after like a Bears upset win in week 13 and they've got 4 wins, and you will have thought that I won $10,000 last night. Nope. I won no money. My life has not changed at all. Just the Bears played well. So that starts on Sunday.
Yep. Well, I had a buddy send me a text. He goes. I think it was a screenshot he sent from Instagram or something. It says, only one more week until I let a professional football team determine my mood for the next 4 months.
Yeah.
It's the truth. I get it.
So I'll be down at Soldier Field. If you guys are out there, you see me in the parking lot. Come find me. I'll be having a couple cold ones. So everybody have a good weekend.
Yes.
This is the show. I'll tell you right now, this is exactly the type of show I want to be putting out on September 8th in 2022. This is exactly where I want to be. So
it's a good time of year for both baseball fans and football fans. My groups of friends here, they just like, it's just they're animals. Probably similar to you with how much they live and die with each play, each game. I'm not quite on that level. But I appreciate the game. I'm kind of glad I'm not as diehard as them, because just the emotional roller coaster that you guys live on, week to week and even day to day, based on, who's healthy, who's playing well, who you're matched up against. It's a lot.
Yeah, it's like, where is this going? Where is this headed? You can just like, all right, I think this receiver, I think he's going to run some clean routes. It's such a weird sport because they play so few games, and you just spend so much time sitting around talking about it. Like baseball, it's like, oh, you lose last night, well, we'll just watch them tomorrow. And you're just kind of like slowly building these narratives. Football, you watch one game, and then the next day you're sitting around being like, well, I'll tell you everything they need to do. It's good shit.
Yeah, man. Well, it was a great show. And everybody listening, we appreciate it. Don't forget to like and subscribe and continue to be a part of the episodes with us.
Yeah, we very much appreciate the support. We're going to give you guys a great effort down the stretch in the playoffs. So stay tuned, subscribe, share the episode.